Mom banned me from my cousin's wedding, claiming I'd ruin her day. She regretted it fast. My coffee cup slips from my fingers and crashes against the kitchen tiles of my Denver apartment, sending ceramic pieces skittering across the hardwood floor. I barely notice. My eyes stay glued to my phone screen, thumb scrolling through image after image of smiling faces gathered in Aunt Linda's sunlit backyard in Colorado Springs. 36 guests. I count them carefully, as if somehow the number might change if I try again. Cousins I haven't seen since Christmas. My mom's old college roommate from Boulder. Even Great-Aunt Dorothy, who uses a wheelchair to get around. Everyone except me. The bridal shower photos show tables draped in soft pink linens, peony centerpieces in my cousin Natalie's favorite colors, blush and gold, champagne glasses raised in countless toasts. A celebration planned weeks, maybe months ahead of time. A celebration I never knew existed until this moment. The sting cuts deeper because just last month, I sent Natalie a handwritten congratulations card with pressed wildflowers from my apartment balcony garden. I'd even offered to design her wedding invitations, save the dates, programs, whatever she needed, free of charge. A gift from one cousin to another. My downtown Denver apartment suddenly feels arctic despite the April sunshine streaming through my windows. The light that warmed me minutes ago now feels harsh and exposing. I realize in that moment I wasn't just forgotten. I was deliberately erased. I sink onto a kitchen stool, memories washing over me like a flood I can't escape. Last Thanksgiving flashes before me. Aunt Linda's voice carrying across the dining room as she praised Natalie's recent promotion at Wells Fargo, assistant manager at 27. Always knew she'd make something of herself, she'd announced, beaming at my younger cousin. Then Aunt Linda's gaze had shifted to me, her smile thinning. Mary's still doing that little hobby of hers, the graphics and whatnot. That little hobby that pays for this apartment. That little hobby that built a client list including 3 regional companies and a Denver-based tech startup. My parents had sat there silently, nodding along, while relatives positioned Natalie as the golden child right in front of me. Even when I'd mentioned the down payment on my apartment, $80,000 I'd saved over 5 years, the conversation quickly pivoted back to Natalie's engagement ring from Tiffany. My hands tremble as I pick up my phone again. I pull up my mother's contact and press call before I can talk myself out of it. She answers on the 4th ring. Mary? Is everything okay? Her voice holds that familiar note of concern mixed with judgment, as if she's already decided whatever I'm calling about is an overreaction. There was a bridal shower for Natalie yesterday. My voice comes out steadier than I expected. Everyone was there. Why wasn't I invited? A weighted pause stretches between us, then a long sigh. Oh, that. Well, Linda thinks you always make everything about yourself. Natalie deserves her special day. The accusation lands like a physical blow. Make everything about myself. I stand up straighter, suddenly aware that my shoulders have been hunched forward defensively. When have I ever? Please don't start, Mary. This is exactly what we wanted to avoid. Your cousin deserves to be celebrated without drama. I walk to my apartment window, staring out at the Rocky Mountains in the distance. So I'm drama now? That's what you all think of me. It's not personal, Mary. Not personal. The same words my mother uses whenever she wants to dismiss my feelings. My free hand stops trembling. A strange calm settles over me as I realize this isn't a misunderstanding. This was deliberate. Planned. Discussed. I'm going to call Aunt Linda. Mary, don't. My mother's voice rises with alarm, but I've already ended the call. I find Aunt Linda's number and dial, surprised by my own steadiness. When her voice comes through, clipped and impatient, I don't bother with pleasantries. Why wasn't I invited to Natalie's bridal shower? A pause. Then, I was wondering when you'd call. No apology. No excuse. Just cold acknowledgement. You shouldn't have been there. Natalie deserves a day that's just hers. Just hers. As if my presence would somehow diminish my cousin's happiness. As if I'm a shadow that might darken her spotlight. I'm her cousin. Her only cousin on this side. The words feel hollow even as I say them. Blood relation clearly means nothing here. Listen, Mary. Aunt Linda's voice hardens. We've all discussed this. The wedding plans too. I suggest you don't make this into something bigger than it needs to be. Some relationships in this family are already strained. The threat isn't subtle. pushback, and what little connection I still have with my family might vanish entirely. I stand at my kitchen window, staring at the city spread out below, and suddenly understand with perfect clarity. My family values appearances over genuine connection. They always have. I hang up without saying goodbye. The silence in my apartment no longer feels oppressive. It feels clarifying. A mountain bluebird lands on my fire escape, its brilliant blue feathers vivid against the grey spring sky. It watches me for a moment before flying away, and I find myself wondering what it might be like to be that free. Later that day, my phone pings with a notification while I'm sketching logo concepts for a new client, a Boulder-based organic bakery. I almost ignore it. Deadlines wait for no one. But habit makes me glance at the screen. A group message from Aunt Linda. Remember to bring Natalie's wedding flowers on Saturday. Good thing we didn't invite Mary, less drama. My pencil stops mid-stroke. The room tilts slightly as I lean against my drafting table, breathing becoming shallow. I blink hard, reading the message again. This wasn't an oversight, not a simple mistake. A coordinated family exclusion. I take a screenshot before the message disappears with a soft whoosh sound. Deleted, but not before I captured the evidence. The notification shows Natalie, Aunt Linda, and my mother all in the group chat. My mother. Of course. The next morning, I drive to my parents' suburban home in Lakewood, the screenshot burning like evidence in my pocket. Mom answers the door in her gardening clothes, potting soil smudged across one cheek. Mary? What a surprise. I was just about to make some coffee. I follow her into the living room where she sits in her favorite recliner, settling into it with the comfortable ease of someone who feels secure in their position. I remain standing, suddenly aware of the family photos arranged on the mantel. Natalie's centered in most of them, my face half hidden in shadows or caught mid-blink. I got an interesting message yesterday, I say, pulling out my phone. Accidentally sent to me. Her face changes when I show her the screenshot, not surprise, but resignation. She doesn't even try to deny it. We all agreed it would be easier this way, she says, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her jeans. Natalie deserves a beautiful wedding without complications. Complications? You mean me? Now, Mary, don't be dramatic. She sighs, using the tone reserved for when I'm being difficult. Perhaps you should make other plans for that weekend in June. Other plans? I repeat, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. While my cousin gets married at the Broadmoor, that $120,000 wedding where every distant relative I barely know is invited except me. Mom's eyebrows lift slightly. How did you know about the venue? Cousin Rebecca called last week asking about carpooling to the wedding. A small, cruel satisfaction blooms when I see her flinch. Rebecca assumed I'd be there. The silence stretches between us like a canyon growing wider by the second. Your father and I think it's better this way, she finally says. The whole family agrees. The whole family has been told what about me exactly? I ask, voice barely above a whisper. She looks away, fiddling with a loose thread on her sleeve. Just that you've always been sensitive about Natalie getting attention. The betrayal lands like a physical blow. Years of holidays where I sat quietly while Natalie was showered with praise. Years of watching my accomplishments dismissed while hers were celebrated with champagne toasts. You're trying to erase me from the family narrative, I say, the realization crystallizing. Everyone already believes I'm difficult because that's what you've told them. That's not true, she protests, but her eyes won't meet mine. It is true. And now I have a choice, accept being excluded or risk losing what little connection we still have. Mom stands, crossing to the window that overlooks their perfectly manicured backyard. I hope you'll make the right decision. Your father and I have been helping with your student loans. If you make trouble about this wedding. If I make trouble. The words escape in a harsh laugh. Like standing up for myself? Like refusing to be erased. This is exactly why Linda thought it best not to include you. Her voice hardens. Everything becomes a drama with you. I leave without saying goodbye, driving aimlessly through the foothills for hours. 3 client deadlines pass while I sit paralyzed in my apartment, unable to focus on the simplest design tasks. 3 days of potential revenue vanish while I stare at my phone, waiting for someone, anyone, in my family to say this was all a terrible mistake. No one does. That evening, My friend Zoe brings Thai food and wine to my apartment, listening as I recount every detail. Unlike my family, she doesn't interrupt or dismiss my feelings. That's textbook emotional manipulation, she says, refilling my glass. They're gaslighting you into believing you're the problem when they're the ones excluding you. Her validation feels like the first sip of water after days in a desert. Linda and your mom are tag-teaming to control the narrative, Zoe continues. Classic toxic family dynamics. Later, alone on my balcony, I watch the city lights flicker on as darkness falls. The mountain bluebird returns, perching briefly on the railing before flying away. As I sit there sipping wine gone warm, I wonder whether I should attend the wedding anyway and force a confrontation, or step away completely and build my own celebration elsewhere. The family I'd known all my life was slipping away. But was it worth fighting for relationships that caused so much pain? Natalie's engagement photos appear on my Instagram feed at precisely 8:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. I'm midway through my first cup of coffee when her radiant smile fills my screen, her fiancé gazing at her with practiced adoration against a backdrop of aspen trees turning gold. The caption beneath cuts sharper than any blade, celebrating our journey with those who truly support us. Keeping our wedding intimate with only the people who've always been there. My phone buzzes 3 times in rapid succession, private messages from cousins I've exchanged maybe 10 words with at family gatherings over the years. Why are you causing drama during Natalie's special time? Family should support each other no matter what. Aunt Linda is so upset about your behavior. I set my phone face down on the counter, hand trembling slightly. The accusations make no sense until I realize what's happening. They're rewriting history, crafting a narrative where I declined an invitation rather than acknowledging I was deliberately excluded. My grandmother's call comes that evening as I'm washing dishes, her voice wavering with disappointment. Mary, honey, I never thought you'd refuse to support your cousin's special day. The plate in my hands nearly slips. Grandma, I wasn't invited. That's not what Linda told me. She said you couldn't put aside your jealousy for even one day. After we hang up, I stand motionless at my kitchen sink, water running over my hands until it turns from warm to cold. The family story about me is taking shape without my input. According to Zoe, who still speaks with my mother weekly, Aunt Linda has been sharing tearful accounts of my jealousy issues with anyone who will listen. The following week, Rocky Mountain Graphics cancels our contract for their summer campaign. The email is polite but clear. We've heard you can be difficult to work with. We need someone who fits our collaborative culture. 3 days later, Alpine Home Designs pulls out of our preliminary discussions. The loss of both projects carves $35,000 from my expected quarterly income. I track the connections methodically. Rocky Mountain's marketing director plays tennis with my uncle. Alpine's owner attends the same church as Aunt Linda. Sleep becomes a distant memory. I spend nights hunched over my computer, redesigning my portfolio website instead of resting. Every pixel adjustment, every color shift feels like reclaiming a small piece of my narrative. At 3 a.m., with my eyes burning from screen glare, I wonder how many hours of work it will take to outrun the whispers. My once comfortable routine fractures. I stop visiting Blue Sky Coffee despite their perfect oat milk lattes because Aunt Linda's book club meets their Thursday mornings. I drive 20 minutes out of my way to shop at a different King Soopers after spotting my mother's friend Janet examining produce in my usual grocery store. Checking social media becomes a form of self-harm. Each notification triggers a physical response: quickened pulse, shallow breathing, fingers turning cold. I start documenting every interaction with family in a leather-bound journal, recording dates, exact wording, witnesses present. The evidence feels important somehow, though I'm not sure who I'm collecting it for. The anonymous text arrives on a Sunday morning. Some people aren't stable enough to attend formal events. Your absence is a kindness to everyone. I recognize the phrasing, Aunt Linda's particular brand of cruelty wrapped in concern. The phone slips from my fingers onto the couch as something inside me finally breaks. The doorbell rings at that exact moment. I consider ignoring it until I hear Zoe's voice through the door. I know you're in there, Mary. I brought Chinese food and bridal magazines. She stands on my threshold, clutching a paper bag from Golden Dragon and a stack of glossy publications. Her camera bag is slung over one shoulder. What are you doing here? My voice sounds hollow even to my own ears. Zoe pushes past me into the apartment. Let's plan something that's actually worth celebrating, a day that's about joy, not appearances. I'm about to ask what she means when my mother's white Honda Accord pulls into the visitor parking space visible from my living room window. My stomach clenches. Client call in 5 minutes, I lie, reaching for my laptop as my mother knocks at the door. Zoe squeezes my shoulder before retreating to the kitchen with our food. My mother enters without waiting for an invitation, her eyes taking inventory of my living space as if searching for evidence of my supposed instability. We need to talk, Mary. She sits primly on my couch, her handbag balanced on her knees. This has gone far enough. The invitations are already printed. We need to resolve this. What invitations? I remain standing, suddenly aware of the power dynamics at play. Natalie's wedding invitations. You need to let this go. This isn't about an invitation. The clarity in my voice surprises even me. It's about years of being treated as less than. Now you're being dramatic. My mother's face hardens. If you can't support Natalie's happiness, maybe you're not the daughter I thought you were. The words should hurt, but instead, they illuminate something I've never seen clearly before. I straighten my shoulders, reclaiming the full height I've spent years unconsciously diminishing around my family. I'm exactly the daughter you raised, I tell her, my voice steady. I just stopped accepting the role you assigned me. Something flickers across her face, surprise, perhaps even respect, before she composes herself. But in that moment, I realize a fundamental truth that changes everything. My worth isn't determined by family validation. It never was. Later that evening, Zoe and I sit on my balcony, half-eaten Chinese food between us. She scrolls through her calendar on her phone. I have a client photo shoot in Vail 3 weeks later. Come with me. We'll make it a working vacation. I could use an assistant. The offer brings unexpected tears to my eyes. While my family crafts excuses for my exclusion, my friends are creating alternatives for my inclusion. My phone chimes with a text from my college friend Alex, just declined my invite to Natalie's wedding. Not going somewhere my friend isn't welcome. The next morning, I wake up and speak confidently about my design business during a networking breakfast for the first time in months. 3 potential clients request follow-up meetings. Something has shifted inside me, a quiet certainty replacing the desperate need for approval. When Zoe and I arrive in Vail 3 weeks later, the Colorado Rockies stretch before us like possibility itself. At a small art gallery near the village, I meet Daniel, the owner with kind eyes and a quiet laugh who asks thoughtful questions about my design work. You should see my place at sunset, he says after our 3rd coffee together. I restored an old mountain cabin just outside town. The light is perfect for someone with your eye for design. Standing on his deck that evening, watching the sun sink behind snow-capped peaks, a thought forms with unexpected clarity. What if the answer isn't fighting for inclusion in a celebration that doesn't want me? What if I create a different story for myself entirely? 2 months later, my phone sits on Daniel's kitchen counter, its screen displaying a half-finished invitation design. The mountain cabin's morning light streams through tall windows, illuminating the space where 16 place settings will soon host the only people who truly matter in my life. What do you think about this font pairing? I point to the screen, where elegant script contrasts with clean sans-serif text. Too predictable. Daniel leans forward, the scent of his coffee mingling with pine air drifting through open windows. It feels like you, confident but not shouting for attention. I smile, making a small adjustment to the spacing. For 3 weeks, every spare moment has gone into planning this gathering. Not a reaction to family drama, but a celebration reflecting who I've become. June 20th, I say, tracing the date on screen. Far enough from Natalie's wedding that no one can claim I'm being competitive. Does it matter what they think? Daniel asks, his voice gentle but challenging. It matters that I know my intentions. I save the file and close my laptop. This isn't about them anymore. For the first time since finding those bridal shower photos, excitement bubbles up without the bitter aftertaste of rejection. I'm creating rather than reacting, building something authentic rather than fighting for space where I'm unwanted. My phone rings, Aunt Linda's name flashing on screen. I consider letting it go to voicemail, then decide against it. I'm done hiding. Hello? My voice comes out steady. Professional. Mary. Her voice could freeze water. What's this I hear about you planning some vacation during family wedding season? You need to take down those social media posts immediately. I frown, confusion momentarily replacing caution. What posts? Zoe's photography page. The save the date announcement for your event. At a mountain cabin? On June 20th. My stomach drops. June 20th? But Natalie's wedding isn't until July. Silence stretches between us. When Linda speaks again, her voice drips with artificial sweetness. Oh, didn't you know? The date was moved weeks ago. June 20th at the Broadmoor Resort. Everyone's been informed. Everyone except me. So you're having your little party the same day as Natalie's wedding. The accusation hangs in the air. Family will take sides. Mary, think about what you're doing. My first instinct is panic. Should I change my date? Apologize for a conflict I didn't create? But as Linda continues listing reasons I should rearrange my plans, something hardens inside me. I look at the invitation design, at Daniel setting coffee mugs in the sink, at the home that welcomed me without conditions. I won't rearrange my joy to accommodate your judgment, I say quietly. What did you just say to me? The date stays, Aunt Linda. Anyone who wants to attend either event should follow their heart. You've made yours clear. I end the call before she can respond. 6 months later, my phone buzzes with notifications I never expected. The wedding blog feature about our intimate mountain celebration has gone viral. 47,000 shares and counting. Comments pour in praising our authentic approach to love and commitment. My design business calendar is fully booked through next year. 3 major brands have reached out since the feature went live, drawn to what they call my genuine aesthetic. The irony isn't lost on me. They excluded me to keep me from stealing focus. Now the spotlight finds me anyway, not because I demanded it, but because I stopped dimming my light to make others comfortable. As Daniel and I plan our move to a larger cabin with space for a proper home studio, I realize the cardinal truth that changed everything. Sometimes the most powerful response to exclusion isn't fighting to be included, it's creating something so beautiful that inclusion becomes irrelevant. The family I was born into made their choice. The family I've built chose me back. And that, I've learned, makes all the difference.